Good morning, everybody. I hope that you had a great start to your week after the long weekend. I know I did in this family household with my daughter starting her junior year of high school. I was reflecting this morning on my journey and my family's journey and recalled an incident where I received some criticism for some work that I did. And I was reflecting on how that used to send me in a complete tailspin into the world of binge eating. And I was thinking about how many of my clients also have that as a trigger. And I thought perhaps many of you also have experienced that as a trigger. So I wanted to address it. And so my first question is, when you receive criticism, how do you respond? There's no right or wrong answer. This isn't about shaming or guilting. It's just about looking at yourself with honest eyes and reflecting without judgment so that you can see if you're responding in ways that are supportive of your health journey and move into a place where you can respond differently if you need to. But it used to be so incredibly painful for me to receive any form of criticism because I was raised to be a perfectionist, and the thought of somebody thinking that I am wrong was so incredibly painful, so painful that I would go to the kitchen to deal with it. It was so much less painful for me to have that moment of numbing through food than to actually feel those feelings of, oh, somebody doesn't think I'm good enough. So I'm curious if you can relate to that. And what ended up happening in my situation, and what is really clear that happens for a lot of people, is if we do that enough times, it becomes habit because we actually lay down a neural pathway in our brain that says, if X happens, I always do Y. And that's partly why it's so hard to break that cycle, that binge eating cycle. But once you're armed with the information, it's completely easy to redo it and create a completely different response. And one of the things I teach my clients is just the very simple act of pausing. So if you've created a certain neural pathway around when X happens, I go to the refrigerator, you can begin to break that pattern and lay down a new track in your brain just by simply pausing, even if you still end up overeating. One of the first steps is, before you pull the refrigerator open, and you might have to tell yourself, even if I pause, I can still overeat. Giving yourself permission to overeat is going to make it that much easier for you to pause. So when you take that pause, it gives you a moment. First of all, it breaks the cycle. Second of all, it gives you a moment to take a breath, to feel what's going on in your body, and to ask yourself, is this the best pathway forward? Now, some of you might still go ahead and overeat, and that's okay. I invite you to not have any shame around it, because that's not going to help in any way, shape, or form. And I'm guessing many of you may find that you choose something different, that you go inside and you ask, what is going on? Am I hungry? Am I physically hungry? Am I emotionally hungry? Am I spiritually hungry? Am I trying to numb out? I teach a process, and I just gave you the 2 steps to the process to create a new reality in your life. Pausing and asking the question so that you can begin to react different to life circumstances. And in addition, it's not impossible but unlikely that we will get through this life with having everybody agree with us all the time. In fact, my biggest learning moments came from people not agreeing with me. Now, sometimes people just bring their own baggage, and I need to just be like, that's theirs, this is mine, and the two do not intersect. But if I'm in the food and I'm overeating, I can't have moments of clarity like that. It's difficult. And I'm guessing you might feel the same way. So, next time you receive criticism, if you are prone to go numb out through, and it doesn't have to be food, it can be by turning on the television, it can be by any form of addiction, right? You might want to go shopping. Your impulse might be to go shopping. It might be to start listening to the news.